This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of February, Mountain Glass is offering shot, tube, and rod at 40% off. Just put in the code SHOT, that is SCHOTT at checkout. And for all you soft glass nerds, they are offering their COE 104 sale, Creation is Messy, 30% off. Just put in the code MESSY, that is MESSY at checkout. And for any other questions and all your glass needs, just go to mountainglass.com. That is mountainglass.com. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 84. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. With 17 years of glass experience, I'm excited to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It is a beautifully gorgeous, amazing, magnificent Chamber of Commerce kind of day here in Florida. It's so nice. I actually came out in the front of my house on my driveway out here in the sun to record this. So if you hear any background noise, cars driving by, birds chirping, what have you, it's definitely in your ears and your head. And there you go. So, yeah, I feel kind of guilty actually sitting out here in the sun because I've been seeing the forecast here in the country here. It's pretty crazy, below zeros everywhere, and it's 70 degrees here. Probably California too right now. I haven't seen the California forecast, but I'm sure all you out there in California, and especially Southern California, are having a beautiful day too. So now that all the trade shows are behind us for this part of the year, we can now focus on our lines that we're going to be getting into. And because of that, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about actually the process of breaking down what it costs to manufacture your works and what you're creating. By doing this, it's really going to help you get a foundational base for your budgets by allowing you to fine-tune and specifically figure out what it costs to make something. And then by doing that, you know how much material you're going to need, how much you need to order, how much you need to budget, all the numbers you can do. I'm a big math nerd, and I love crunching numbers and doing math, and because of this, it's helped me along the way. I'm not going to say I'm multi-gazillionaire, made hundreds of thousands of dollars, anything like that, but I have had a chance to go through with math, and it's allowed me to make sure that when I do get orders in, that I'm able to be on top of it, because I've been able to order enough materials or already had enough material in stock to be able to manufacture the product. Now, this took me a long time to figure this shit out. 17 years of doing this and a lot of it learning on my own. Again, there was times where I'd drive to a store in hopes to make $20 at least to be able to buy myself some dinner and oxygen the next day to get to work. So, it is what it is, but now that we are in this industry that is growing and is being taken more seriously every year as we grow, it's important that we all begin to really get our foundation set and our financial house in order. That way, when federal laws hit down the road, and I'm going to keep saying this because I'm positive this is going to happen. If not, there'll probably be some sort of anarchy revolution of some sort. Who knows what's going to happen? But I do think that because of the trends happening, we will eventually go federal legalization across the country, and then potentially worldwide as well, as being this country is sometimes a leader in the world. Not always, but sometimes. So we'll see what happens. But because of that, again, I think it is very important that we now take our businesses seriously because not only is, again, this industry growing by the billions, but the IRS and government sees it as well. And now that taxes and all that kind of shit is coming up, it's just important that we all just stay on top of this and these numbers and keep track of it all. So there goes a little ramble for you. Today we again are going to be discussing breaking down your numbers with your items, again, to be able to figure out a baseline for you to figure out budgets and blah, blah, blah. It's a real simple process. To make it even more simplified, I have created a document that you can download that is in the show notes. It'll say PDF download. Just click that link. It'll send you to a Dropbox folder that you guys have availability to, and then you can just download the form. And it's just basically a fill-in-the-blank type of thing. I've created categories in there, time slots, the whole 9 yards, so then you can figure it out. And then at a point when you get to where you want to scale your business and actually bring people on board with you, if you do have a successful product line and you need help creating it, depending on which direction you want to go. I mean, there's different philosophies, and whether you want to be a single individual artist, creating work that is in high demand, which means that you then are available to get high dollar for it because the demand's high, and you are the only person making it. Or if you want to scale your business and create a production line and have a facility with maybe 1 or 2 people working with you, or 20 or 50 or whatever. There's 2 different directions of going. It's the big scale business side, and then there's the artistic entrepreneur individual person side. But either way, it still is important as a business foundation and numbers to figure out what it costs for you to manufacture what you're manufacturing. So again, today's episode is all about that. But before we do get into that, I want to announce that just some quick housework. That if you are a wholesale account, if you have a license to do wholesales, whether you do retail online or at a brick and mortar, you can go to greenflashglass.com and place an order if you have not with them yet. And they are offering 20% off for all new custom orders, not custom, but new customers who order before the end of February 2016. So you guys got about 2 more weeks on that. And because they initially talked to me about doing this in January also, they may expand it to March. I'm not going to say anything promises, but don't know yet. So we'll stay tuned for that. And then also wanted to announce that I've been in the talks with Micah Evans recently, and through our conversations, he was letting me know that him and Salt and Dave, who owns Grav Labs, they had actually been in the process of starting a podcast themselves. They recorded an episode, and then they weren't really sure what to do with it. And through the works of communicating with Joe from Mountain Glass and Salt coming across the show himself, they have, I shouldn't say I guess, but they have now launched their podcast, which I'm super fucking pumped about. Salt and Micah, as glass artists, are 2 cats that, as individuals, have set standards in our industry in their own little realms between educational facilities, big schools, Penland, etc., and then also just the creative side and the philosophy that goes into work as an individual artist, and also setting standards for marketing and sales as well. And these guys are now doing a podcast that's a bi-weekly show that's going to be coming out every other Friday. They have a little bit different format than myself. I'm not sure exactly specifically what their format is, but through the conversations, I do know that they are looking at gearing into sharing stories, as I am as well. I'm not sure how much business focus they're going to have. They probably will have business focus through the conversations that they have with other artists and different individuals. But either way, I'm really excited to announce that they have a podcast that just launched, actually. I believe it was today it came out. Today is February 16th. It's Tuesday, yeah, so it's 16th. The show comes out the 17th. Okay, yeah, so anyways, the show is called Torch Time. You can just go to iTunes or Google Play and search for Torch Time Media. They have a show, their first episode came out, where Dave interviews and talks with Salt about Salt's story and his background. I'm going to be having Micah Evans and Salt on the show eventually as individuals. And then through some talks, we've got some cool projects in the works too for you guys, which I'm really excited about. Also in May, I've been invited, which I'm really pumped about, to go to a scientific glassblowing symposium. I guess it's a national get-together that's happening, and I've been invited to come check that out and be a part of it. I'm not really sure what my role is going to be in it. If anything, I'm just going to be there as a guest to see and listen and learn and meet and mingle and get some interviews in and talk to folks out there while I'm out there. But I thought it was a super interesting door that's opened, and it's part of why I wanted to do this show, because, again, I've been doing this for so long. I've been in my little cave here in Florida and haven't really gotten myself out physically into the industry. And now that I'm doing the show, it's really allowed me to make some awesome relationships and create relationships, and also open some doors that I've been wanting to open for a while. So it's a pretty cool opportunity and humbling, and thank you to you for listening to the show and for downloading it. This week, I should really say this month, but this, I'm going to say this month, but has had the largest download numbers I've seen yet. I think a lot of it's due to Mountain Glasses helping cross-promote the show, as well as you out there that are listening and sharing it with your friends and your family. So I can't thank you guys enough. Just completely humbling and just makes me smile from ear to ear to continue to do this show and to share knowledge and information. And I just want to say I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening and having me in your ears throughout your day, whether you're in a studio blowing glass, on the road traveling, selling glass, using it, what have you. We all love glass, which is why we listen and love and do what we do. So before I continue to rant and ramble on, I'm going to now move on. Today's show, again, is all about breaking down the costs of manufacturing. We are back with our segment discussing how to break down your cost of goods to get a baseline price so that as you manufacture your product, you know exactly what it's costing you to work, which includes your material costs and all of your overhead, including rent, oxygen, propane, and electricity. Now, for my situation where I rent my space, we're paying $550 a month right now. I just moved into a new spot from a bigger space to a smaller space just to make my brain work a little easier here. But that being said, what you need to do is figure out as part of your baseline, if you rent a space and you just pay rent and then you have to buy your gases and stuff, obviously you need to calculate that, which is what we do. Or if you rent at a space where you kind of rent space and you pay for it all at once, whether it's, your spot plus oxygen, propane, etc. Or if you work out of your house, you need to figure out what it's costing you there too. I figured my average power bill at my house running a kiln, I've got a larger Paragon, but it's a 110 Paragon. I was averaging roughly $50 to $75 a month in electricity. So just take the high number at $75, right? But again, with my situation, which is what I'm using for these calculations here for y'all, is we have power included, which makes it a little bit easier to figure out this formula. But not really easier because if you know what your average power bill is, just throw the number in there. Now, what's going to make this easier for you is that we have included a PDF download Excel file in this show notes that all you have to do is just plug in your numbers, and it's going to help you figure out all your stuff. Now, whether you are a manufacturing high-end quality production, low-end product, one-off, custom work, whatever your situation is, it's imperative to figure out your cost of goods. For one, you need to figure this out because A, if you have a large order, you need to make sure you have enough product in stock. Number two, you also need to make sure that you're getting paid enough for this product because if you're paying too much of materials, it's costing you too much to manufacture, and then your profit margin is not good, it's a waste of your time because then you can sit down and figure out, well, if I made this instead, I'd make more money. It also helps you to figure out your calculations when you do custom work and also bigger items, again, because you know exactly what it's going to cost. Now, not everybody does this, but I, again, am doing this because I feel as this industry grows and we're taking business more seriously, we need to take this seriously as well. As our businesses. Whether you are a solo entrepreneur, artistic entrepreneur doing your own thing, whether you have a business that you've scaled where you have employees working for you, by having employees and scaling your business, you'll be able to manufacture more goods, but also you'll have more product line, which costs more money, but then you also have labor costs and all other stuff you got to figure out. I do have my assistant who is now involved in the process of helping me do prep work, pulling points and whatever. So I've had to do this calculations myself, not only for my budget, but also so I know how much I need to pay him to make it worth his time, and also to make sure I'm paying him enough to where, again, it's worth his time, but not too much to where it's taken too much of the profits out of the product. It's kind of this whole little circle and, the fine line of running a business. But again, this stuff is very, very important. Now, the formulas we have in the Excel sheet is very simple. There's a column for your item, for the description of your item, which is basically your formula. There is your cost of your clear, your cost of your color. There is your total for that manufacturing process. We also have 3 columns for how much time it takes to manufacture the product, and then it formulates how many you make an hour, which then takes your numbers and then figures out how much it's costing you per hour to manufacture. Now, we are going to be adding an additional couple columns to figure out your numbers for your oxygen and propane, your power, and all that kind of shit. But in the meantime, this is just, again, very basic, simple business, mathematician, whatever, formulas type stuff. Makes it real simple. So what I have done for you all is taken one of my items, which is my 3-inch Wiseguy handpipe, and broken it down to the nitty-gritty bullshit of exactly how much time it takes, how much prep's involved, everything, the entire process to manufacture this. When you do your average of your times, you need to sit down and manufacture and make 3 in a row and take that time and divide it by 3 as your average. And then you also need to take into consideration that you need to add a little bit more time to it because, again, if you're going to be doing a 3-hour shift, I seriously doubt you're going to be able to keep up the pace of every, the calculations that you have based on your number of 3. But you do number 3 because 1 or 2 or 3 is going to fuck up on you and it's going to set you back a little bit on your time. So that's why I say an average of 3, not even 2, but do an average of 3. So what I've done, again, is I've taken my 3-inch Wiseguy handpipe, and I made 3 in a row. That includes the prep I did myself. That includes everything in the process. So what I've done now is broken down the Wiseguy. So he now takes me 2 minutes, and I pull points myself. So I figured it takes me 2 minutes to pull 1 point because it took me about 7 minutes to pull 3. So I broke it down to 2 minutes per point. Then I take that point and I shape it into the owl body shape, including pushing the bowl, popping the holes, making it a functional pipe before I actually finalize the look of what I'm making. That time to make the blank averaged out to be 5 minutes per item. Then I have to finish it, which again includes adding the eyes, the brows, the wings, knocking off my blowpipe, cleaning out the mouthpiece, flattening it out, and sticking it in the kiln. After 3, the average was 5. So I figured it takes me 12 minutes to manufacture that product just to make 1, but if I want to just make sure I have a little bit of leeway for myself there, I say it takes me an average of 15 minutes to manufacture 1 item, which then therefore takes 4 an hour is what I'm making. And that's a realistic number because I've done averages, added some numbers in there, some time. So it takes me 15 minutes to manufacture 1 Wiseguy handpipe. Okay, now that's 4 an hour again. So I've gone through the process of now I've got my average figured out on my time. Time is imperative to figure out what it takes to manufacture. So your time first. Second is you need to figure out the formula that is being used to create this item. Now, by doing this, you're really going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what it costs to manufacture these products, and it's also going to give you a baseline for these items so that down the road, if you decide you want to add opals to them, you want to add more color, you just got to tweak your numbers a little bit based on your baseline calculations that you already have written down. And you need to take these formulas, again, using this Excel sheet, and go ahead and log all your shit on there, and then print it out, and then keep it in a folder so you now have a list of your catalog, a list of all your baselines, everything. It's going to make it really, really organized and easy for yourself. So again, I have a 3-inch spoon that takes me a 3-inch section of 32 extra heavy wall. When you're manufacturing these pieces and you're figuring out your calculations for cost, you need to figure out how much the most expensive color or the most expensive material is going to cost you. Not on sale, not discounted, whatever. The most expensive items you can get, because by setting a high number on your cost to manufacture, when you buy your stuff on sale, it's going to give you a larger profit margin down the road. But you still need to have baseline calculations set at a higher number based on if things were never on sale, period. Kind of where it's at, if that makes any sense. So I have figured out that it takes me a 3-inch section of 32 heavy wall to manufacture. Now I figured most of the tubings that I buy, Cymex for instance, is 5 feet long or 60 inches. The tube costs roughly $15 for the 60 inches, which comes out to roughly 25 cents an inch. Now it takes me 3 inches to manufacture this item, so therefore it cost me 75 cents in clear. Now I have to figure out my color. Now my color, I actually weigh out before I manufacture so I know what it's going to take to manufacture. Or, because I've also done this a long time, I have a better idea myself personally. For those of you just getting started, I would still go through the process of saying, hey, okay, this is going to take me this much color to wrap and rake or whatever you're going to do, and then go through the process to see exactly if that's what it's going to cost. I mean, literally cut a section of that color off, punny up to that bitch, heat it up, and then make your piece. And if you have anything left over, well, then you can remove some color, remove some numbers and whatever. If it takes you more, then you obviously need to add. It's a little bit of a trial and error than going through this process. But once you take the time for the trial and error to figure this out, again, you're going to have a fantastic time setting your baseline, which is going to make all your rest of your time much easier and focus on your glass. So I figured it takes me roughly 3 inches of color at 10 grams is what it takes, 10 grams of color. Now, I figured it cost roughly, depending on what color you do. Now, I took all the numbers, not every single color, but I took a low number and a high number, did an average, and I figured it cost me an average of 30 cents an inch to manufacture. Now, my piece takes 3 inches of color. Now, it's 90 cents of color, but I went ahead and added a little bit more to it to make it a rough number, which is $1. So to average it out, it cost me $1 in color. So now I have 75 cents worth of a 3-inch section of 32 heavy wall, and now I have a 3-inch section of color that cost me $1. So now I have $1.75 in the material cost alone, just in the manufacturing process of the material. So you write that number down. Okay? Now you want to figure out exactly what you're paying for to be in the space that you're in and to run the space that you're in. That includes your oxygen, your propane, and your electricity, and your rent. Now, again, for myself, our electricity is included in our rent, which is fucking awesome. Some places don't do that. Some places do. If you work at home, again, figure it's going to cost you roughly anywhere from $50 to $85 a month to run your kiln in your studio. Maybe include your light and fan in that as well. If you want to maybe say $100, then do that. But you break that down, divide it by 30, it's, $3 a day. It's not that difficult to figure out math. But again, you need to do this because you have to add this cost into what it costs you to manufacture. Because again, this is what is called setting your baseline cost of goods. So important to do this. And also by having these numbers on a piece of paper and figure it out, you can just take these numbers and plug them into all your other items you're making. Again, making this really, really simple. So now we're going to get into this. So I have what's called the RPO, your rent, your propane, your oxygen. I have, my rent is roughly $5.50 right now a month. Before I was paying $8.50. But I figured it's averaging around $15 a day to manufacture my work, or to be in the studio space, around $15 a day. Now, I average around an 8-hour shift, and I'm going to say that's 7 days a week, because some days I don't work. Some days I work 15 hours in there. Some days I do 8 hours. Some days I do 10 hours. But I'm going to say roughly an 8-hour day in the studio. An 8-hour day is a really good day. And that's on the torch. That's not shitting around, sitting down. So if I'm in the shop for 10 hours, I'm on the torch for eight of those 10 hours. So it's costing me $15 a day in rent. My propane, I know what I go through because we go through one liquid tank about every 4 weeks. A liquid tank of oxygen for us here where we get our gas from costs us $155 for the tank. And we know that we go through 3 to 4 tanks of propane for every liquid tank we go through. So I know that myself, when I was running on K-tanks or high-pressure tanks, for every 2 oxygens I was using of a 282 tank, I was going through 1 propane. Now, an average tank of 282s I was paying was roughly around $18 for a 282. So I've got $36 in oxygen, roughly $16 in propane. Add that up, divide that, your math, figure out how much you're doing. It's really easy shit. So where I'm at now is the RPO I have is my rent is $15 a day. My propane is roughly $2 a day, and my oxygen is roughly $2.50 a day. And again, I took the numbers of what we average every month, divide it by 30, and that's how you figure out your daily costs. Now you take that number, which for me came to $20 a day. I divide that by 8 hours a day, which gave me $2.50 an hour. So now I take my number for my material cost, which is $1.75. And then I add that to my, I got to step back. That's wrong. Okay. So I take my $2.50 an hour, and then I take that, and I know that I'm making 4 of these wise guys an hour, so I need to now take this $2.50 and divide it by 4, which gives me 63 cents. So now I take the $1.75 of material costs, I take the 63 cents and what it costs me to be in the space with my gas, my oxygen, and my rent, and then I add those two together, which means that one wise guy every 15 minutes is costing me $2.38. Now, if I have an order for 50 of them, just take the $2.38 times it by 50, which gives me $119. Now, these wise guys I sell for $15 a piece. So it's got a really nice profit margin because I figured that it's going to be roughly around $800 I'm being paid for 50 Wise Guys. So at 50 a piece, I get $15 is my distribution cost of what I'm being paid for these pieces. Now that $15 gives the distributor a $5 add addition to their cost, which they then wholesale them for $20, which is what I wholesale them for. So I'm making $7.50 on a check. I'm being paid for 50 at $15. So I take the $119, subtract that from $7.50, which gives me $631. Now that is my baseline profit on manufacturing these items. Now, if I want to scale my business, and scaling your business means that you basically are having people help you work in your business. You're not actually working in the business. You work and run the business outside of the business. You can do both if you want, which is what I do. But again, you have a chance now to figure out if you want to pay somebody to manufacture product for you, which I am doing that. So I figure if I pay somebody $5 for each Wise Guy that they make from start to finish, and they can do every 15 minutes, they're making $20 an hour, which is pretty damn good for a beginning glass artist to be able to make $20 an hour. And that's a paycheck. That's not you having to pay to make, these items. That's you paying somebody to make them. So now digress back to this. So my profit margin, an actual profit after my baseline material cost is $631. If I pay somebody $5 a piece on 50 items, that's $250. So if I take the $250, I subtract that from $631, it still leaves me with $381. And that is pure profit. So what you have to do now is take all your numbers and you got to allocate where your funds are going to be sent to. Now, you have to have a checking account for your cost of goods, for your business, for everything you do inside your business. And then you can write a check to your artist or whoever it is that's working for you, a paycheck in the amount of $250 after they've manufactured their 50 items that are good to go, that you can sell no problems. And then you take your $381, which is your profit, and that can become your salary. Or you can take a little bit of that and put it towards your salary and put the rest of it in a savings account to save up for it's called retained earnings, which you save for, say, your kiln takes a shit, or you need to buy a new torch, or something sale comes up and you have an opportunity to buy stuff. Think about that kind of ideas when you're running your business, because now you're giving yourself a chance to set categories of where you can allocate your money to go to. You have your cost of goods, you have your every baseline of what your numbers are for what we're doing here and talking about today. You have potential labor. You could also pay yourself labor. Maybe say you're paying yourself piecework. If I'm going to manufacture these 50 pieces, I'm going to pay myself $5 a piece. That means I'm making $250 for making these 50 items. That means the business itself, which is the entity anyways, is going to then profit the $381. So there's different ways of going about doing this. But by calculating your baseline of everything into their product line, you now have an opportunity to take that money and just keep it put aside so that when your oxygen, your propane is due, your rent's due, all that shit, the money is there. Really, really simple process. If you're paying $550 a month in rent like we are, I've got 50 items that I've made. I know that it's what I have here in my cost of goods that has costed me $119 to manufacture. I need to take that $119, what it costs to manufacture the 50 items, and put that sumbitch into savings, because I cannot touch that $119 because that is what it cost me to make that stuff. You got to replace the funds that you've made or used to buy the material to make that product, if that makes any sense. So these are just real simple things to think about. And I'm only, this is kind of maybe a little bit jumbled. I'm trying to keep this organized for you as I describe this, because I didn't do this last week because I was trying to find a way to record this and talk about it without it being too confusing. Now, part of the YouTube channel I'm going to be starting here next month will be doing things like this through the video and showing you with my Excel sheets that we're creating on how to fill those in and how to do your calculations and all that kind of stuff. And again, this is real business 101 basics. A lot of this stuff is used in every type of business in manufacturing. You got to think of yourself as a manufacturer, whether, again, you're doing just custom work, whether you're doing one-offs, whether you're doing mass production, low production, high-end production, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever type of artist you consider yourself to be, whether you're a craftsman, whether you're an actual business entity, whether you're an LLC, a sole proprietor, if I could speak it out, all this stuff. But these numbers and calculations, again, are very important because it allows you to figure out your average cost of what it makes to manufacture. And again, by having your average cost already figured out for your RPO, which again is your rent, your propane, and your oxygen, you know what it's costing you daily to work. You know, I've got friends of mine that are like, oh, it must be nice being a glassblower, working for yourself. And I'm like, well, you have to understand, this is what it costs me to work per hour. And it's real. You know, it's basically breaking down to where it's costing me $20 a day. Not a big deal. But you got to think about it. Take that $20 and out of your pocket and stick it in the fucking checking account every day. Put $20 away, $20 away. And that shit'll add up. And eventually, you'll have the money to pay your rent and your stuff. You can do that if you're not making anything, if you're not selling your work. If you're sitting on a bunch of glass you can't sell and you got to pay your rent coming up, think about it every day, just putting $20 in a checking account. I know it's difficult to do sometimes, but just some ways to think about stuff. And again, this is all just numbers, math, really fun for me because I love doing math and figuring this stuff out. And again, I just did this for my business because I now am getting my catalog organized and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to share this with you guys. So I really hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at info@wiseguyradio.com. There's a link on the show notes on your whatever device you're using to listen to the show. If you just click on the actual image of the show, it will flip around, whatever it does, and will bring up the notes that I've written on there. And it'll actually have a link on there that says PDF download. If you click the link, it'll take you to a Dropbox folder that is a public folder for you to download this Excel spreadsheet. If you don't have Excel on your computer, I think most computers do. Even your phones, you can get an app, which I have on my iPhone for documents and stuff. It's a free app for Excel. But again, this stuff's new for me, the Excel stuff. My wife is all about it. She's been helping me out with this, which is awesome. So thank you, Britt, for doing this. But again, take advantage of this stuff. Take advantage of the time I'm putting into this for you to help myself figure this out, to then, in the end, help you figure this out. So, love you guys. Please share the show with your friends. Let them know we are out here sharing knowledge about business and glass and being an artistic entrepreneur and making the lifestyle and just designing your life. If you want to go out and go to the beach for 6 hours a day and be in the studio for 8 hours a day, fucking go do it. Why the hell not? If you have family and kids, you can run a schedule to where you can be home with the family at night. There's no reason that you can't be. If you're a workaholic, go get some fucking help and see a psychiatrist. Because that's what I had to do because I couldn't stop working. So anyways, I'm going to get the hell out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in again to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 84. And we will see you guys next on episode 85, which is 15 episodes away from 100. I can't believe it. Holy Jesus. And I'm all choked up and booklumped. Oh my goodness. So, all right, I'm out of here. Don't forget to go to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Share with your friends. Go to wiseguyradio.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. And thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in and subscribing. All you new listeners out there, you guys are rocking and rolling. Share with your friends. Thank you, Mountain Glass and Green Flash, for all the fun, love, and help with the show. And we will see you guys next time. Take it easy. Peace. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.